These lips are hypocritical and they'll always kiss Erica's ass. Hey y'all, welcome to my channel. I am Raphael and I am here to review part 4 and the final part of the reunion to the real ass kissers of Beverly Hills. So first of all, I wanted to wear my black and white striped shirt to resemble a referee shirt because this part of the reunion specifically was all over the place. And we start off with Erica right where she left off with questioning Crystal. Am I angry enough for you? Am I upset enough for you? Do you see it? And Crystal was just like, you know what? I was gonna have my husband cast you as one of the 3 hyenas to voice act. But you know what? I think you just lost that opportunity. So just get back to Andddd. And Erica's just like, okay, whatever, it's fine. And Andy's like, Erica, I just don't understand. Why are you chewing up Crystal when she's just asking a question? Why are you so upset? And Erica's just like, well, Andddd, I mean, wouldn't you be upset too if all your close friends were questioning you things and saying that the devil was going to come to your house? Not the old house, because that one got taken away after Tom left. The new house, you know, the little mini mansion, the one with the big closet in the room. Yeah, I mean, I gave the devil my GPS and everything. I'm not sure when he's showing up, but he's showing up at some point. So wouldn't you be upset? And Andy's like, yeah, I mean, I understand. I would be upset too. But I mean, I would just answer to all my friends correctly and appropriately and not just lash out at them so angry and borderline violently, you know, because Erica she's doing too much. But Erica's whole point is that she's upset that Sutton said in her confessional in one of the episodes that she said, oh, yeah, Erica made a deal with the devil and now the devil is going to come knocking at her door or ringing the doorbell or delivering pizza or something like that. And, you know, for a second, I'm like, oh, that could be a nice, you know, that could be a nice little kinky caption for an Instagram post, you know, like a late night thirst trap or something. Like, you know, you post your picture up late at night, like at midnight, and you could caption it like, oh, made a deal with the devil. Who's going to come knocking? Like, I think it would be kinky. Here comes Dorit and her big words. She jumps in as well. And she's just like, wait, Erica, I have some things that I want to talk about and want to address really quickly. So, I mean, honestly, your behavior just now and throughout the season, I mean, it has been very extreme and you were biting people's heads off. And I would like to say that you were biting people off. Well, you were chewing people off. I feel like you were being very treacherous. I feel like you were being very menacing. And I feel like, I don't know. I just feel like you were very dangerous. So, I don't know. What do you have to say, Erica? I mean, look what you just did to Crystal. And then Erica quickly shut Dorit up. She was like, Dorit, stop. What about your legal issues that we had before with you and PK? I'm like, damn, Dorit, you see what happens when you try to jump into something, you know? But again, Erica is just, her defense is at a 10. And I'm like, just relax, you know? Like, honestly, if she was just to relax and just answer everything, you know, calmly, I think people will be like a little bit softer with her. But she comes off like a raging monster as soon as you ask her something. I mean, you could literally be like, oh, good morning, Erica, how are you? What the fuck do you mean good morning? What is that supposed to mean? I don't have to have a good morning. Don't tell me what to do. Like, that's how she comes off. Erica also adds in that she felt hurt and betrayed seeing PK, Dorit, Kyle, and Mauricio making fun of her behind her back at the infamous dinner table between the 4 of them. And then here comes Kyle. She jumps in, but she doesn't necessarily jump in. She kind of crawls in because you know she was scared and she was shook to speak up against Erica. And Kyle is just like, okay, come on, Kyle, you can do this. As an executive producer, you can do this. Come on, just muster up the courage that you don't have. Come on, try to grow a spine. Just, okay, Erica, I just want to say, don't hit me. Let me move my chair back. I just want to say that I cannot control what Mauricio says. I mean, I can't control him. I mean, I can't control if he's cheating on me behind my back either. I can't control that man. So I wanted to say that to you, okay? We're still going to be friends. I'm still going to follow you on Twitter. So that's that, okay? I didn't say anything, but I cannot control what Mauricio does. And then Erica's reply to that is, well, I can't control what Tom Girardi did. And you could tell that Erica caught herself because she also added, or didn't do. Like, which one is it, Erica? Andy also asked the cast if they thought that the divorce announcement was a sham or a bunch of BS, and for the most part, everybody believed it. And then Dorit jumps in to give us a soliloquy, and she's just like, Andy, again, can I just add in, when we found out about the LA article, we were just in astonishment. We were blindsided. We were bamboozled, if you will. And it was just a lot. You know, it really was. I remember that day like it was yesterday because I was wearing my Dior tracksuit and my Chanel earrings. Yes, I had just gotten done doing my hair that day too. And everybody came to my house underneath 24 hours because we called a reunion, like a mini reunion kind of. But Erica had walked away. So let me tell you about what I had for breakfast. So I had Erica felt some type of way that the group met behind her back as a whole to discuss her specifically. But just like Garcelle said, I mean, they were gonna invite you, but you had just walked away from Garcelle's questioning earlier. So what would have been the point? Let's say that they would have been like, okay, let's ask Erica to stay. Let's ask her to come to Dorit's house so we can give her our concerns, our questions, you know, just our opinions. What would you have done? You would have gone off on them just like you've been doing this whole entire reunion and this entire season. I mean, you're so quick to say, oh yeah, you can ask me anything. You can ask me whatever. I'm an open book. But the second that somebody tries to ask you something, you get defensive. You bring out your giant sword and shield. You know, so I don't know what exactly you want, Erica. You know, it's just, you're not going to have it both ways. And then Andy changes the conversation and he's like, oh, so Erica, let's talk about your financial issues. So you said that you had 2 Target gift cards and 1 credit card. When did you find out that Tom was having financial issues? And then Erica's just like, I found out when I was on Broadway. I think it was 2020 or 2019. But yeah, I found out when I was on Broadway on that play. And I think I was in the middle of a bathroom break, I think. So yeah, it was pretty awful. And Andy's like, did anybody else here know about anything that was going on with her financially? And then that question was specifically to Kyle. And Kyle is just like, well, I mean, I kind of, hi Erica, I kind of knew, but Andy, you knew too, right? You knew as well, right? And then she put the heat on him instead. I'm like, oh, okay, that was a new one. And why Andy was acting like he was scared too. I'm like, Andy, why are you acting like this? Because he was just like he looked like he was having a huge orgasm the way he reacted to Kyle throwing the question back at him. I mean, he was just like, oh. I mean, yeah, I heard the same thing, and I mean, I just thought it was a rumor years ago, and I was just gonna let it play out on the show for ratings. That's the only reason I didn't say anything. I'm like, Andy, no, like, you know, push your chest out a little bit more. Put Erica back on the barbecue. Don't get scared now. And honestly, I'm surprised that Andy or Kyle even mentioned the situation. I mean, they mentioned it without mentioning it because they put on the screen with Bethany, the little Bethany article. So Bethany is another housewife on the Housewives of New York. And I have heard, I don't really follow her or the cast of New York like that, but I have heard that she was the one that kind of started this whole thing in motion. Like, oh yeah, I've been knew about the whole situation with Erica previously when Andy had the baby shower years ago. So, I mean, she kind of brought that up to light, but I'm surprised that they actually mentioned that here at the reunion. So wouldn't that have been shocking if Andy would have been like, okay, so we have some receipts. Bethany, come out really quickly. And she would have came out. I mean, if they would have paid her like $5, I'm sure she would have done it. Andy furthers his questioning with Erica by asking her, so Erica, how come you didn't wear waterproof mascara that one time that you went out with Kyle and you started crying and your makeup started running down your face rapidly? How come you didn't do it then? To the audience, it looked like you were begging for sympathy and it looked pretty pathetic. So what was the reason? And then they showed Camille's post online saying, oh yeah, Erica never not wore waterproof mascara. Even when we went to the Bahamas, she was in the water fine. So I'm not sure why she didn't choose to wear waterproof mascara in that specific scene where she was looking for sympathy. And Erica's reply was, well, I mean, Andy, that day specifically, my glam squad didn't have waterproof mascara. So they had to head to CVS to go look for makeup. But CVS didn't have any waterproof mascara either. But they did give me a Kit Kat bar. So they had to go to Party City. And Party City didn't have any waterproof mascara. So I had to ask Dorit for clown makeup. So that's why. And I'm not looking for sympathy from anybody who's not on this cast anymore. And I'm like, ooh. Like, Andy, bring back Camille quickly. I also don't buy, nor do I put it on layaway, that Erica did not know she wasn't wearing waterproof mascara. I mean, out of all the times we have seen you with a glam squad, you just so happened to walk out the house that specific day when you were about to give a sob story without waterproof mascara. Erica, I think you're a little bit smarter than that, and I'm pretty sure that your glam squad is a little bit smarter than that and would know what type of makeup to put on your face on a daily basis. So, I don't know, you were just trying to manipulate people's feelings or whoever was watching the show and to have them in your favor, and it didn't work. Andy also tells Erica, so now that Tom has been living in this assisted living environment, how do you feel about that? And have you reached out to him? And Erica, she actually reveals to us that, you know, the reason why she kind of reached out to him is just to make sure how, if he was okay, if he was fine, because the pictures that were floating online of him, they were not the best pictures of him. And even now, I still don't know his condition, but the photos of him that went out publicly not too long ago were a little bit, you know, scary. And Erica, that was her biggest concern. She just wanted to make sure that he was okay. But she made sure to tell us that he does reach out to her every single day. Even at that very moment right then and there at the reunion, he was calling her 5 times. And I'm like, damn, that must be his unlucky number, because isn't 5 times the number of times that he flipped in his car, according to Erica? But regardless, Lisa was just doing the most in this part. Like, she was literally a bobblehead. I mean, every time Erica would say something, there goes Lisa, like, and then she will like open up her lips so dramatically, like, wait, don't forget my bobble. Like every 5 seconds. I'm like, Lisa, stop. Even with the makeup conversation earlier, sometimes, you know, the glam squad has to change up their makeup. I'm like, Lisa, just go take a bathroom break. And then Andy's like, so since you reached out to Tom, have you expressed your anger towards him? You know, because Crystal wants to know. And then Erica's like, yeah, I expressed it. And then this is where she got frozen and she got choked up again, because Andy's like, so have you asked him why did he do it? And then Erica, she froze up like she was playing a game of Squid Game, because she was just like, I asked him what he... She says she did ask him why he left her with all the millions of lawsuits pointing in her direction, but she says that he doesn't really understand what's going on and he's incompetent all of a sudden, because everything that she tries to discuss with him about the lawsuits, about everything going on in the media, he doesn't really, you know, get it, or he doesn't process it. And I just don't know whether to really buy Erica's words. I mean, I don't know about her she comes off as a liar just because of all her lies just getting twisted this entire season and reunion. But I wonder from Tom's perspective, where does he lie in all of this? What's his perspective on this? I mean, how does he feel about this whole show playing out the way it is, with his wife just kind of making his case look worse on TV, you know? And Erica also is like, well, I shouldn't be telling you this, Andy, but here I am. So I don't know. I mean, what do y'all think? Do y'all think that Tom is obviously not squeaky clean in this situation either, but is he really not able to process what Erica is telling him about the lawsuits, or is he just doing this because he purposely doesn't want to face reality of possibly going to jail? Meanwhile, while Erica and Andy are both having a conversation about where the missing money is at, we see Kathy right across the couch and she takes out her lipstick and she's just like, $20 million? What? That's it? That's what they're fighting for? That's pathetic, $20 million. I cannot believe that. I really can't relate to these broke bitches. I think right after this reunion, I think I'm gonna buy 3 houses and a Happy Meal. I'm craving chicken nuggets. Right, $20 million. That is pathetic. If you broke, just say that. $20 million. I should give that to her now. I have it in my purse. That's like $3 to me. As they're dissecting Erica's lies, Lisa jumps in and she's like, well, I just don't think that it's never okay to talk behind people's back. And I'm like, Lisa, what? Like, I know this is not coming out of her mouth. I feel like, does she just wake up every single morning and wants to be like, oh, you know what I'm going to be today? I'm going to be delusional. Like, I cannot believe that that's coming out of her mouth. And even Andy had to call her out. And he was like, now, Rinna, really? Like, that's coming out of your mouth? And Lisa's like, well, you know, I learned my lesson over the past few years. I'm like, yeah. You say that every single season, year after year. And then they play the little montage of all her victims. And I'm like, okay, I don't get why she's going so hard for Erica. And I feel like at this point, I feel like she's trying to clean up her reputation from what she did with the niece. I mean, she went so hard at her own friend, at the niece, that now she's like, you know what? Instead of grilling Erica, I'm just going to be by her side and I'm going to stick by her because I think that that's what the fans want of me. I just feel like, okay, you finally decided to do the right thing and not grill your own friend, but now you're not grilling them when you should be. So that's the issue, Lisa, you know, and that's what's making you look like her little puppet. And then the threat that Erica did to Sutton back at the Christmas party of her saying, oh, I'm gonna come for you, that gets brought up. And Garcelle's like, are you gonna apologize to Sutton for that threat? I mean, you know, that was pretty scary. And everybody on the cast agreed, including Andy. And Erica's just like, what do you mean? No, that was just slang. I'm not apologizing to Sutton for what? I'm not apologizing for her for anything tonight. I'm not doing that. And she was just like, you know, if this was a thing in Potomac or in Atlanta or New York, it wouldn't be a thing. It'll be a regular conversation. And I'm like, Erica, what do you mean by that? Like, what does that mean? Because that's the city that you should be at, because none of the women on those cities or New Jersey would take any of the mess that would come out of your mouth, especially the way you speak to your cast members here. Absolutely not. I can only imagine Erica and Potomac. Like, no. Candace would chew you up. Even Giselle would chew you up. Giselle would have came to the reunion wearing a white shirt that said, oh, where's the victim's money, right on her back. Mia would have asked all the right questions the second that she found out about the situation. Robin would have still been searching for Juan and why he's not coming on the cast trip. Kenya from Atlanta, she probably would have brought a victim to the reunion. Like, oh, look, here they are. Confront them one-on-one. Teresa from New Jersey, she would have flipped the table the same way that Tom flipped his car on you if you would have talked to her like that. So, Erica, again, you're just lucky that you were cast with a bunch of cowards, if for the better word, because if you were in any of the other cities, I'm pretty sure they would not allow you to even raise your tone the way you raise your tone with Sutton. Garcelle also admits that she regrets not stepping into the situation that specific night between Erica and Sutton and telling Erica, relax, you're doing way too much, you're acting like a bully, enough with the threatening. And Sutton also reveals to us that she had to hire security for a week because she did not know what Erica was capable of. And Erica laughs it off, and Sutton is like, it's not okay for you to talk to people like that. Like, it's really not. And then Erica's like, well, it's not okay for you to question me or say that I'm, you know, with the devil or I'm in cahoots with the devil or anything. So, and then Sutton's reply was, they just kept going back and forth. Sutton is just like, well, I just think that you need to speak like an adult sometime. And then Erica pulls a low blow and she's like, well, I mean, that's your opinion if that's your opinion. And my opinion is that you were acting like a fucking bitchy see you next Tuesday. And I'm like, nope. The minute that see you next Tuesday word would have came out of her mouth, if I was Sutton, I would have took off my Venetia Bogetta shoes and I would have tossed it right across from the table that she was at, right towards Erica. Like, what? You're calling me a what? Like, wow, Erica. And you know, I know Sutton wants to be, you know, the Southern Belle, and she wants to be, you know, oh, you know, I'm a classy woman. No. At least ask Garcelle next to you, like, Garcelle, are you gonna help me jump Erica after the reunion in the parking lot when this is all over and the cameras are off? I don't want any camera footage of me acting like an unclassy lady, so are you gonna help me? Like, no, she just called you a see you next Tuesday. And, you know, Sutton is just shocked about it. I'm just like, wow, it couldn't be me. So then Sutton tells Erica, I thought we were actually friends when back in Del Mar, you know, me and you were talking and taking that romantic boardwalk to the boat. I thought we were actually friends. And Erica was just like, no, I was never your friend. And you were also faking being my friend. And Sutton is like, no, I sincerely thought that I was trying to be your friend and you were trying to be my friend. And look what you're doing. That is called lying, Erica. And I'm like, yikes, Erica. She kind of backed you into a corner and it was kind of like an awkward silence. And you know, Erica had nothing to say, so of course she had to say some little high school thing back at her. She was just like, oh, well, that's not lying. That's called playing your ass. Yep, I did that. Did the cameras catch it? That was great. I'm like, Erica, ill. Like, you get no cool points for your comment like that. Like, you make yourself look and sound stupid just by saying that. I'm like, you know, she sincerely thought you were trying to be her friend. If you were trying to play her, what were you really trying to get out of it? I mean, okay, congratulations. You lied to her again. And then Lisa. You know, she jumps in again and she's like, yeah, it's not okay to call people liars, Sutton. And I'm like, Lisa, again, this coming out of your mouth? Out of the list of things you accuse people, weren't you the same person that just accused the person right next to you, Dorit, of her doing, you know, stuff in her bathroom not too long ago with a bunch of people? So, I mean, what? So we crossed the line when we call each other liars, but you can ask Dorit and her company if they were doing a certain substance in the bathroom, right? So Lisa, and since Lisa decided to jump in, Andy asked her a question and he's like, so Lisa, so with your history of victims, you know, Yolanda, Kim, Denise, niece, of all the grilling that you did back then, I mean, you did some heavy grilling. I mean, it was like a barbecue festival at that point. So why didn't you do it with Erica? And then Lisa, this is how you knew she was full of it, because she started twirling with her ponytail and she pulled it to the front. And I'm like, oh, so you're nervous and you're about to speak some bullshit. And then she proceeds to say, if I could take it all back, let me look up dramatically. If I could take it all back, it still haunts me to this day, but if I could take it all back, I would. I really would. I would. Do you want a lip kit? Okay, I'm gonna send you two, Andy. I would take it all back, honestly. It's just, it haunts me every single day. And I think that behavior is very, very tragic. And I'm like, Lisa, please save it. You say this every single time. You know, every single time it's always, oh my God, I feel so bad for what I did. I'm not gonna do it again. I have learned from that. And then what happens when the next season comes? You do it again. So it's just like a never-ending cycle with Lisa. It'll be different if she even said, I'm sorry, but she never says, I'm sorry. She just says that she feels bad, but it's never, I'm sorry, or I take accountability, or I'm sorry for doing this or damaging this. And I'm surprised that Kathy stayed quiet at this part, because I'm like, you know, Kyle is one thing, you know, Kyle, she'll bend for anything, but Kathy, I feel like if you talk about Kim to Kathy or say anything bad in front of her like that, I feel like Kathy will say something to you and she will say something to Lisa, but she didn't. So Lisa, again, just so full of it. And then Andy's like, so Erica, you know, we have similar situations with Lisa Vanderpump. And, you know, when they mention her, I feel like this is what needs to happen for next season, because they need to get rid of Dorit. That's first of all. They need to bring back Lisa Vanderpump, and they need to bring back Camille and make Kim, you know, Kyle and Kathy's sister, a friend of the show. That way it could have a little shakeup with Lisa and Erica, because I feel like we're gonna get the same exact cast and nobody's gonna really do anything to Erica or Lisa, you know, or bring somebody from Harry's past that Lisa knows, because this is just, it's becoming too much. Like, we can't keep letting them get away with this. So then back to Erica. She continues elaborating that she feels some type of way that Sutton continues calling her a liar, and Sutton is not backing down from that word either. She's like, no, I said you were a liar, and that's just the way I saw it, and that's that. And then Andy chuckles, and Andy's like, oh, Erica, you're a piece of work. You're gonna bring in the ratings this reunion. And then Erica's like, I know, I'm so sorry that my story sounds very insane and very crazy, but that's just the way it is. And then Kyle adds in, yeah, you know, your son and Tom, they had the 2-for-1 car accident special, right? Where 2 cars flip for the price of 1. And Erica, this is where her story changed for the 100th time. I think this is what, the 105th time that her story changed, because she elaborates that no, it wasn't 12 hours that he was unconscious, Tom, that he wasn't unconscious for 12 hours. Apparently now it's 9. And she was just like, yeah, so if you divide 2 plus 2, no. And then you add in 2 cars divided by a minivan, divided by the stop sign that was near there. And then I think there was a bus right around the corner. And then there was a corner store right there that I bought a Snickers at. Yeah, and then if you add 3 more vehicles to the pile up, you divide this and then divide this by number 3. And then you add the power of square, okay, here. And then you add pi to this car accident. And that's how I equaled up 6 hours. Because, you know, Tom was unconscious for 6 hours because of all the math that I just explained to you. You see how simple it is? I found him at the bottom of the ravine, and I had to bring in my friend, Dora, you know, Dora the Explorer. I had to bring her along because she had the map to where Tom was. So we had to go there, and then Swiper the Fox, he showed up and he tried to rob me for all the money that I had. And I told him that all the money that I had was going to my glam squad. So he left us alone. And then Dora, she finally led me to Tom, and he was at the bottom of the ravine. Andy, I know it's an intense story, but it's the truth. I'm telling you the truth. And I'm like, Erica, what? Like, first of all, is it 12? Is it 9? Is it 3? She also states that there's no police report from the story that she's telling us. So I'm thinking, Erica, you want us to believe this huge car accident story that you keep telling us over and over and over again in different versions, but there's no police report at all? You mean to tell me that only you, Tom, and your son know about the story, know about the incident, and know about what happened that specific night, and there was no neighbor that saw it or reported 911 when they saw a car flipping 120 times down the street? you mean to tell me that only you three knew? Like, no, I'm not buying it. Andy also adds in, Erica, when Tom called you from Neverland, did you do the Find My Phone thing? And then Erica's just like, no, Andy, I didn't do the Find My Phone thing. Remember, he has a flip phone, the one with the antenna. Ah, that's why. You're so silly, Andy. Ah. And even Andy was looking so confused, and he seemed like he was not buying the BS that was coming out of her mouth. And he's like, so when Dorit recited the story that you told her, why did you say allegedly? You know, my favorite moment. And Erica, she was just like, well, I got in trouble with my lawyers, that's why. And I'm like, okay, so maybe that's true. And then Andy, I feel like he should have pressed her with this next question, because he was just like, so let's talk about the weather. You said that it was snowing when the incident happened where your son lives. And then Erica did not want to answer that. Erica's just like, I don't want to talk about it. Like, let's not talk about that question. I don't want to answer it. And I'm like, why though? I mean, we all know why, but why though? And I feel like Andy should have pressed her a little bit more with that specific question, because that was a huge factor in the story that she was telling us. So in conclusion, Erica says that she hopes that the alleged victims get the alleged reward that they allegedly want out of this alleged issue that they allegedly accuse Erica and Tom in. Allegedly, you know, and I don't blame her for saying allegedly, because I'm sure that her lawyers and in the court of law, you have to say allegedly just to save your own ass. So if that's what she has to do, then so be it. Andy's like, oh, you know, thank you, Erica, for answering all of my questions. And I'm like, where? Like, did she answer anything? And then she had the nerves to say, oh yeah, I hope that everybody takes what I said today and all of their answers are answered. And I'm like, if anything, I'm a little bit more confused than when I started this reunion. But you know, so that was that, and the questioning officially came to a stop. But then Kathy jumps in and she's like, wait, I just want to apologize to Garcelle. And then she takes out her little note that she had in her purse, and she's like, I'm sorry that I couldn't be there for the Haitian dinner. And I'm like, oh wow, she actually remembered that. Like, I'm actually surprised they brought that up. And she's like, I'm sorry I wasn't there. I believe she had COVID and she still was kind of recovering from it, so that's why she couldn't go. And I'm like, okay, so I give her 2 fingers for that, for admitting that and for saying I'm sorry to Garcelle. I'm like, she probably looked on Twitter and she's like, yeah, let me apologize now before they light me up again. But regardless, you know, I thought the apology was cute. That was that. Then they went around the room to, you know, give their final thoughts. Sutton says that she wished that she could listen to Crystal a little bit more. Crystal says that she is still not gonna hire Erica as one of the hyenas in the Lion King 3. Erica is Erica. And then we get back to Lisa. Lisa had the nerves and the audacity again that she's had this entire season. And she's like, I think what I take from this season is that I'm a good friend. Where, Lisa? Where? Please, let me get my binoculars. Let me look for this good friend that she claims that she is, because I am so confused as to where she I'm telling y'all, she wakes up every morning, she brushes her teeth, and she's like, you know what I'm gonna be today? I'm gonna be a liar and delusional. I'm telling you, that's exactly how she starts off her day. But that was that, and then I believe they ended with Patrick, the butler, Kathy's butler. I'm like, where was he the entire reunion? Was he just there witnessing everybody just yell at each other again? He comes out and he serves them all drinks, and that was that, y'all. That was the conclusion of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills Season 11 reunion. And that was that, everybody. It has officially come to an end. We have completed Season 11 of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Like, it's insane that the roller coaster that we all went on this season. I feel like I was lied to. I feel like I was cheated on. I just feel like I was in a toxic relationship with Erica the entire season. Because the stories that she was telling, but who knows what everybody's gonna bring season 12. I mean, we all have seen that Dorit, her house got broken into. Now, do y'all think that that's a plot for a storyline? I will hope not, and I'm glad that her and her family are safe, but I will really hope that that is not a storyline that she's going for, because she was probably on the chopping block. And we shall see what happens, because now I think that there are pictures of Erica and Garcelle out at the gym or something hanging out together. So if we're gonna have this same specific cast, they need to add somebody new, because we can't continue having like what, 5 versus 2, 5 versus 3. We can't continue having that and Lisa kissing Erica's ass every 5 seconds. We just cannot have that for another season. So again, like I said, maybe bring Camille back, bring Kim back, and then get rid of Dorit, you know, just to even out the playing field. Bring in Garcelle's friend that she knows as an extra housewife. Something, you know, they need to add some type of life, a little bit more to the housewife, to this specific franchise, just so it won't get stale with being Erica, Kyle, Dorit, and Lisa versus everybody else and ganging up on one person season after season after season. You know, that's gonna get boring. And that's that, y'all. That was the season. I mean, let me know what y'all thought about this season or this reunion overall. Again, I just want to give a big thank you once again to every single one of you who have left their opinion in the comments, subscribed to my channel, have liked my videos, have just watched my videos in general. I really appreciate it. It's bittersweet again, like that it's really over. Like it's crazy. But then again, we have the Real Housewives of Dubai that's coming up soon. The Real Housewives of Miami. Again, what do y'all think of that? What is your opinion on both those franchises? And then we have the All Stars thing coming up. So it's bittersweet that Beverly Hills is over, you know, even though, you know, we couldn't stand certain moments. It was still a fun ride to watch it overall. But again, y'all, thank you again for watching. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And once again, y'all, bye my babies. Mwah.